Resurrection.
Recording it. So we're live. John Lavinia's Success Mastermind General Session, Tuesday the 19th of April, already post the Easter holiday break. So hopefully everybody is fueled up with chocolate, full of energy, refreshed. I can see Stuart is, although he's been working pretty much the whole time. John is on. So we are just about to start off. We'll allow people time to dial in. No
Hey, while
point
you're
in-
doing that, can I interject?
Yeah, go for it.
I was just on Facebook saying that a live session with Adrian Garner is going live right now. And I just saw that one of the posts that I recently put there, which you acknowledged, Adrian, is Ingrid playing her $100,000 violin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. You see that? That is all. I remember when that started. I remember talking about it on,
Right.
we heard on the Friday and some of the general sessions, and she was not sure what to do. It's great to see that that's come off. That's just
It works.
amazing.
It works. I'll
does.
tell you what, when people
It does.
apply the principles, what did Napoleon Hill say?
It
Definite
works.
demands backed by the application of definite principles. So, you know,
We're the ideal and the power of thought. We're the
Right.
ideal and power of thought. You know, the secret, the strangest secret.
yeah,
Absolutely.
apparently it's not a secret. Well, there you go.
I am going to, in the next few sessions, go through the whole lot again, all the principles, all the stuff that, well, you've probably got a load to add, but I've picked out a few of the things that I think people need to go back over to make sure we're doing it, because we've got a whole lot of sessions we've done, a whole lot of interesting thoughts. So I thought I'd go back, and I've written down 8 topics that I think we need to just double check that we've understood and that we're doing something about. Because as you say, John, take action. We can listen to a whole lot of stuff, we can read a whole lot of stuff, but if we don't actually implement it and turn up, it's useless. We're going to be back where we started. So we've got to consistently apply this material and these thoughts, and that's what I'm going to do. There's Edward, great to see you. I hope you've managed to have a bit of an Easter break. Always great to see you on there. Hopefully we'll get rolling. I was just explaining that we're going to take a recap of some of the key elements of success, what I'm calling the success formula, which has various elements. And I've identified 8 elements. There are a whole ton more, and I'm sure John and Stuart and many others will add more, but I tried to focus on the things that are going to stop us and or get us ahead. So I'll probably start off with your approval, John. And let's plan next week as well. I can do that. I can do the Friday. Glenn can do the Monday. So we'll see what we can come up with. Today, just for housekeeping, there is EVA tonight. EVA 5 p.m. Eastern Time, US, which I think is 10 p.m. in the UK. I better double check that, but that's 5 p.m. Eastern Time US. EVA's Corporate Curios, brilliant session. Looking forward to seeing that. Anyway, to get rolling, let's take the success formula. So John's going to interject, I know, on this, and Stuart, but the 8 that I thought about, I tried to work out what's stopping me, what has stopped me, what is still stopping me. First one that I'm going to go through this week is routine and habit, for sure. Second one is passion and desire. We got more of our friends joining us. Great to see you. Great to see you always. Just a quick recap. I'm going to tackle what I'm calling the success formula over the next few weeks, the elements of success. So first one, routine and habit. Second one, passion and desire. Third one, positivity and belief, which is really mindset, wrapped up in the mindset issues we've talked about. Fourth one is action. John's imperfect and done, and getting our feet on the ground and doing something. Fifth one, adaptability and obstacles. Adapt or die, I talked about before. That's in the library if anyone wants to go and watch it. Another one I talked about was take a detour if you come to an obstacle. So this whole idea of adapting, getting around obstacles, not trying to go through them and be stopped. The 6th element, networking. You've got to put yourself out there and connect, because otherwise nothing comes back. You can be brilliant and unknown. That's the problem. Or your product can be brilliant but unknown. 7th element, learn to give people what they actually want. And I've covered this also in Life and Business Tools, and I'm going to do another Life and Business Tools session on this, the customer value proposition, making sure you know what people want, not trying to shove something down people's throats that you want to give them. Check that it's actually what they want. And if it isn't, change it or change route. And the 8th element is the success formula, upskilling and lifelong learning, because this is so crucial. And we've talked about this in the library, in our recordings also. You can't just alight on a service or a product and stop there and say, job done. I learned the elements I had to do. I learned a bit about Twitter. It's always shifting. Even the way we're communicating is shifting. So what we know now, if we don't keep developing it, will mean that we haven't got enough to say, or we're irrelevant, maybe in a year, maybe in less in some cases. Anyway, so those were the 8 elements I'd like to touch on. Obviously, that's vast. Today, I will start off with routine and habit. That's element number 1, and the power of the routine. See how we get on. We can always go on to element number 2, but let's see how we get on. And again, for those who dialed in a bit later, the idea is that we all know about this stuff. We've all read acres of material about it. We've talked for hours on our recordings about these issues, but have we remembered to do something about it? Particularly today, the routine. We've talked about routines, we've talked about the books, we've talked about the Miracle Morning, but if we're not consistently applying these principles, we're just not giving ourselves a chance of delivering and being efficient and effective. We're just not helping ourselves to get to our goal, because we're not carving out the time in our day consistently to make sure we get tires on the road and we do something, and we do it regularly. And if we do it regularly enough, suddenly we've got a product, we've got a service, we've got customers. It really, really works. So this routine is element number 1 in the success formula. So crucial. But we're all creatures of habit, whether we like it or not. We are creatures of habit. We do things habitually that we don't even notice. And we remember to do the things that we become used to doing without even thinking about them. So if you've got to actually pause to think about something, that's probably not a habit. If you're pausing and hesitating, say, should I do this? And thinking about how to do it and what to do, then it's not a habit. We're looking to create habits, which then generate consistency because they're automatically applied. If they're good ones, that's what we want. That then leads ultimately to success, in the sense that we get to our objective, we meet our goal, we get to our burning desire and our dream. So habit, consistently applied, equals success. So we remember fixed routines, and those fixed routines can be built, and they then become habits. But those habits don't just form automatically without repetition. And if you doubt that, you've already got a lot of habits that you have made habits by routinely doing them. And if you think about that and think about the way, for example, you eat, particular things you eat regularly, the way you get up in the morning, the same route to work, the same seat on the commuter transport, eating at the same time every day. Do you get up at the same time every day? Do you exercise at the same time every day? Maybe you take vitamin supplements. All those things you do without even thinking about them, probably without being reminded. You don't set an alarm because you've chosen to do certain things that are important to you, and you've baked them into a routine. They become automatic. So how long does it take to make those things automatic? Well, there are so many views on this. It's quite a controversial topic, believe it or not, but to make a habit a part of an automatic routine, some say 21 days repetition. Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetics, John has gone through before. He will hopefully confirm that that's what he did say. But the problem in a lot of the blogs and the posts you read is they talk about 21 days, and he did not actually say that. He said a minimum of 21 days. Now, obviously, if you're looking at complex behavior or a complex task, it may take longer to bed that in properly than something that's just so simple, you're going to automatically remember it and drop into the routine. So the 21 days, according to Maltz, is a minimum. But whatever the day and the number of days are, sticking to that for a set number of days, whatever it is, certainly helps to build an automatic routine, which is what you want to make sure you've got a solid platform for getting ahead. But it's not just about days. We have to see the results of what we're doing. If I'm saying I want to lose a certain amount of weight by a certain time, I need to start seeing some results. We wear what we eat. I need to see results. I need to eat well, for example, and discipline myself for a month to see the impact that has, and then enjoy that. So this is all linked. Not only do we have to keep doing things for a certain number of days to make them automatic habits so we don't think about them, and we consistently repeat them well, we've got to celebrate the wins and see the results and set mini goals, which Mandy and I have talked about before in a session, mini goals are important. It's great having these giant goals, but you've got to break down mini goals along the way, because we all need encouragement, we all need reward, we all need to celebrate success. So the habit forming approach is important, but also celebrating and saying, yeah, look, I've lost a pound, or I managed not to smoke for a whole week. Whatever it is, you've got to celebrate that along the way until you get to the ultimate goal. So this is all important, but we have to keep doing things. That is crucial. For them to become automatic and to produce results, we have to keep doing it. It's no good sitting down with John and Shannon agreeing a great business plan, idea, approach, templates, everything, and then not regularly work on what it is you're doing, because you just won't produce anything. You won't get it out there. You won't sell it. You won't consistently sell it. We have to keep repeating things. The right things, of course, because the wrong things can do us damage. But the great news is we can consciously do this. We can create habits and be conscious about it. And we can build successful routines because we can design them. It's not a difficult job. It just requires discipline. So we can actually set down new habits and generate a much better day, a better mood, a better mindset, and ultimately, with all of that, success. That's for sure, guaranteed. I know this works. I have set myself a routine in the morning before I ever looked at books like Hal Elrod to make sure I was on track in the morning, because that is the killer. Getting up and on it, attacking. I know some people are night people, but if you can, you're fresh, powerful, and ready in the morning. Providing you've laid everything out, everything's ready the night before, you've made notes the night before about what you're going to do, you're ready, on it, hitting the ground, ready to exercise whatever's in your routine. But, it doesn't happen on its own. We have to actually set down what it is we're aiming at and make sure all of those elements are reflected in that routine. Sounds obvious, but some people don't do that. We have to bake in the right ingredients, and we'll come back to that. But of course, routines go both ways. Bad habits and bad routines are not good. We may have to remove consciously some bad habits and bad routines, including things like excessive TV or streaming. They just steal your time. They are the thief of time. Remember the stones in the jar. We've got so many stones in that jar for every day, and those go as the hours pass. We take a stone out, we take a pebble out. If we take a load of those pebbles out because we've been streaming, we can't get them back. We can't spend those stones on something else. And we've talked about that in sessions before. So we have to remove bad habits. That is equally important as building in the good ones, because they can drag us back down the slope we've just climbed up with the good habits. Erasmus said, a nail is driven out by another nail. Habit is overcome by habit. So we can overcome bad habits by replacing them with good habits. That's something that's important to remember. But I know everyone's day is different. We all know that. We're all in different situations, different pressures, children, families, jobs, commutes, whatever it is. There isn't a one size fits all. So don't feel guilty. We don't need to feel guilty because we're not doing it like everybody else. We're not doing it just like Elrod said in the book. That doesn't matter. That does not matter. It's your own journey. So you've got to make the routine and the habits that work for you. But going back to what I said a few minutes ago, you have to reverse engineer this. And all that means is we've got to fix the objectives first and then decide which habits and routines build and get us towards those objectives. We can't have a decoupling where we do things which are irrelevant and find somehow 2 months later we haven't got anywhere near the objective we wanted to hit. Very few people actually think about that. Surprisingly, they just adopt a whole bunch of routines, don't plan that actually reverse engineers back to where they want to get to. And then you can end up with some random habits that don't really lock together well, don't help you get where you want to be. And as an example, if we look at the Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield, who became very famous, he decided at school that he wanted to become an astronaut. He saw the moon landing on television with his dad when he was 10 years old, and it really captured his imagination. And from then on, he says, he decided he was going to be an astronaut. They didn't even have an astronaut program in Canada at that point. You had to be American. But he said, one day, maybe they will have a program, and I'm going to be ready. And all he then did is plan his routines and his subjects and his topics to get him on the program and to make it more likely he would be selected and be the one that was selected out of all the candidates. So the subjects, everything, including his health and fitness regime, even later going to learn Russian because he knew you had to speak Russian to cooperate on the space program and the space station. That's how much he did scuba diving, air cadet corps, aviation studies, joining the Air Force. So lots of tiny steps, habits, routines, topics he built into a ladder that he could climb up to get to his objective. And that's what we're talking about here, reverse engineering back from your goal to make sure your routine is going to get you there. And your chosen time in the day is going to get you towards that goal. Crucial, absolutely crucial. But, you know, even though you've got to plan this and reverse engineer, of course, there are things that are common to all of us. And we know there are things that are going to affect everyone's quality of life and their chance of success. And they all tend to require good routines, good habits that just deliver. And I think there are probably at least 8 ingredients. There are many, many more. So this magic number 8 again, that is an accident, by the way, but it's 8 cropped up again. And I'm sure Stuart will tell us something about that because 8 is symbolic in certain countries. The first one is good health and fitness. That's key in our daily routine. That affects our energy, mental alertness, and a lot of other things. So eating habits, exercise time, have you got that in your routine properly? And is it working? Have you put it at a time you can actually do it? No good putting it, in some people's cases, right at the end of the day when they get to the slot and say, I can't handle this, run out of energy, run out of power, no can do. So you have to be realistic about when this is going to happen. Second thing, mental and skills development, crucial. Our reading and our study time, course planned according to your planned journey and your objective. If you want to be you want to be an astronaut in the space program, you're going to have to study very particular things. Third element, relaxation and rebuilding. We do have to have downtime and reflection time in this routine to restart. What did we do? What did we do wrong? What could we do better? Those kind of reflection times and meditations. Preparation and mindset. Fourth, our mantras, repeating to ourselves our objectives, remembering what they are, using any mantras we have to remind ourselves, to encourage ourselves and reinforce our actions. As John would say, turning up, making sure we're turning up as ourselves on track. Fifthly, in our routine, we've got to have target and goal time where we actually look at what we've done, check the priority list for that day, check the action points, make sure they're set down and that we're on the case, that we're ticking them off. No point having a routine where you don't look at the action list, get to the end of the day and nothing's ticked off. You did 10 other tasks, minor things, but not one of the difficult, important tasks. That's just not going to get you there. Sixth routine element, some people would add that you should, at the end of the day, review your performance for the day and reflect on any improvements. Some of the commentators say that. I know some people that do it and find that very, very powerful. Did I do okay today? What could I have done better? Did my routine work? Were my objectives right? Were my priorities right? Did I perform? Yes, I can change that. Even tiny tweaks can make a big difference. The last, seventh one, marketing and promotion in today's world, very, very important. Raising our profile, marketing to our contacts, building our network, building our contact list, sending information to people, blogs, posts, emails, all the things John and Shannon teach us about week in, week out. We have to allow time for that. It's a real need. It's actually it's part of our routine, just as exercising is now. Because if we're not out there, nothing's going to come back. We have to throw the seed out there for something to grow. Eighth element, of course, the routine has to include work time. And some people don't think about that either. They pile everything in and don't leave enough time to actually action their real core activity. Crucial. And we'll mention Benjamin Franklin in a minute. His whole routine was timed to the hour. It's online and you can see it, believe it or not, from all those decades and centuries ago. He had a very rigid routine with work clearly connoted and marked off. So there is a ninth element, surprise element, not to ruin the magic 8, but leave room for surprises. You've got to have fun, you've got to have variety, and you've got to change up. You can't have no change and no fun, because otherwise we just die on the job. We don't want to do it. We get absolutely exhausted. Change it up, get outside, go for a cycle ride, go and work out, whatever it is you're going to do. We have to get out of the routine as well, because that keeps us on the routine perversely. So have you already got all these habits baked in? Are you clear what they are? Do they work for you? Are you promoting all of those aspects? Maybe you're going to tell me in a minute, hopefully there are a lot more aspects I should have included in the list. But it's crucial we do this. And we've got to constantly check the routine because life changes. Our objectives change, our pressures change. We've got to evolve our routine. It's not fixed. So if we've got a fixed routine we haven't looked at for 2 years, maybe it's time to check it out. But everything, and John tells us this, everything has to have a time slot. If John tells you it's not in his diary, it doesn't happen. You've got to allow an allotted time, an actual real time. The commentators say, if you don't allocate the time, it doesn't enter your brain in the right way and you don't commit to it. You've got to commit to the time slot for that element of your routine to do anything about it and make sure, yes, I'm holding to that 10 o'clock slot. I'm going to do it. It's the best way. If it's vague and you've just got a general list of things you're going to do in the next 6 hours, surprise, surprise, a lot of those go awry and get dumped or put on the side or done in a panic at the last minute. To get real quality out of this, we have to actually put a time commitment down. When and how am I going to do this? And just look at the top sports stars. This is how they live day in, day out. Really super rigid training regimes, practice day after day after day, shaving tenths and hundreds and thousands of seconds off record times to get to the goal of a medal. That's how they do it. And shooting for that kind of success requires habitual, consistent, targeted effort every single day. If anyone's struggling with this, no shame. We've all struggled with this. We're all still struggling with it. Get a coach, get a personal mentor, get somebody to back you up, a friend, a partner, whatever you can do to encourage you to stick to the time slot, because we fall off the track, going gets tough, we get tired. So get someone to help. Another thing you can do, which I think is great, is a wheel of life test. I haven't got one to put on the screen right now, but it looks like a bicycle wheel. Hopefully a lot of you have seen it, with spokes and a hub. So you have the hub in the center and the spokes coming off, and around at the end of each of those spokes, you write the main life issues around in the circle. And then each one of those central issues should be joined to the hub with a spoke. And along each spoke, you then mark, say, 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, whatever takes your fancy. 1, the least effective, the least good, near the middle, near the hub. 5 to 10 on the outside of the spoke, near the wheel edge. And what you're trying to do then is score every one of those life aspects, 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, and then join the dots up and see what it looks like. You get a strange cobweb style design, and you can see, hang on a minute, I'm scoring myself 2 on health and fitness and 10 on work. The balance is totally out. This helps you to see where you're not working well or what's going wrong. So I recommend these wheels of life. There are dozens of them in images on the net. So if you search Wheel of Life, you can make an assessment of your own day, your own life, and say, clearly I'm going to have to change my routine. If one of these I'm scoring 1, the dot's down here, and the other one I'm joining out to is way out at sort of 8 out of 10, and everything else is 5 out of 10, something's gone out of line. Probably going to cause you a problem. So we're looking for distortions. But there are many, many tools we've looked at, and I'll finish up with some of the tools we've looked at as a reminder. I know we've all seen them, but Carol Rod, the Miracle Morning, already mentioned that. Getting your day off to a positive start. He gives us a whole load of suggestions and tools about early start routines, what the routine should be, waking up, exercising, reading and study, meditation. We've got to create a whole routine, though, not just for the morning, but the whole day. So take the Miracle Morning as one bit of it, but you need a miracle day, and that is the problem. Some of us are great at having a miracle morning, and then the air goes out of the balloon, and the rest of the day doesn't quite pan out because we don't have that miracle morning discipline for the rest of the day. That is what we're looking for, the golden ingredient. It's a whole holistic plan we're trying to draw up with gradual addition of habits. Don't think you need to bung them all in at once. Add things every day, one by one, until they become habits. Don't try and sink the ship by piling everything on deck on day one. You don't need to do that. Second thing is the small things really, really do matter. And I mentioned this. So look at Team Sky on the internet, see what they did. They'd never won a world championship, never won the Tour de France. They then looked at everything they were doing, every single small thing, including taking the team's own pillows so they could sleep better, cleaning away all the dust in the transport van so the bicycles wouldn't get dust in the gears to slow them down. Every single thing, every small thing built to win. They suddenly won every single race. So in our routine, nothing is too small to try and tweak, fix, adjust, improve, whatever you want to do. And thirdly, in building a routine, there's a fascinating book which is not going to tell you how to do it, but it's about famous creative people, great people, and what they did. It's called Daily Rituals by Mason Currey, Currey. I've mentioned it before. He literally went and studied the lives of great composers, artists, politicians, etc., people like Benjamin Franklin, and said, well, what did they do? How did they get to the peak? How did they get to this summit of incredible achievement and creativity? And he gives us fascinating insights. So he gives us, for example, Benjamin Franklin's routine with a print of the actual plan, with the precise timings. And he mentions many of the great people getting up early, directly attacking their passion, music, writing, whatever it was. So that book is really interesting and could just give you some inspiration. Fourth thing, the 12-week year we've talked about before, and the planning and task software. I know Mandy's a great aficionado of this, and I really believe in it too. The 12-week year, break the goals and the plans and the routines into shorter periods. You can get backed up by software and apps like Asana, Trello, Monday, Aoa. There are lots of them which will help you to build routine and make notes and schedules. And pretty much lastly, Pomodoro Technique, which we've also talked about at length. In this routine, it's quite hard to hang on to maximum concentration for 2 hours. So the recommendation is you break down your time into slots, say 25 minutes, Pomodoro says, and then take a 5-minute break. Once you've done 3 25-minute slots, take, say, a 15-minute break. So in that way, you're refreshing your brain, resetting your mindset and getting going. The idea being you attack, you don't just fall asleep with a cup of tea for the first 15 minutes of your very, very crucial routine schedule. You're ready to go. You're on it. You've taken a break. Now I'm going to do 25 minutes. There's my task. My routine is clear. Bang, I'm going to do it. That's super, super important. And people use an egg timer, timer on their mobile, timer on their computer. You can time 25 minutes and have an alarm. So before I open up, and I'd love to hear more suggestions for success elements, more about routine and habits, what's worked for you all. But remember, let's reward ourselves. When we get the routine done, we should feel good about that. Glenn's been talking last week about the wins jar, putting wins into your win jar. Do it. Show that you've done it. You've made the routine. You've completed something. Put a win in. That's a win. Glenn will follow up on that. And celebrate those mini goals, definitely. You know, just feeling a bit fitter, running a bit further, mastering a new skill. Those are wins. They may not seem like it, but they're big wins. So at this point, John is going to pile in, hopefully. And to anyone that wants to comment on this, I would love to hear from you. Thanks,
Yeah,
John.
thank you. And thank you, Stuart, for the Wheel of Life examples. And thank you, Ali, for this is Ben's journal, right? Franklin, that's his stuff. Okay,
Yep.
Good. So every time a topic like this comes up, I am joyous about confronting some of these areas. Oh yeah, health and fitness, yeah, spirituality, personal growth, and learning. I run a book study group. I run a whole freaking mastermind group. You talking to me about personal growth? Come on, I'm the guy, right? Oh, community, or fun and recreation, so I'm definitely out of balance. Okay, I noticed for myself. And these are areas where I have deprioritized. All right, so community stuff, and as much as I may not acknowledge or recognize it, hey, this weekend, Easter weekend, we had dinner with a family. We're neighbors, right? We got to meet other like-minded people here in the community. So yeah, I'm doing it thanks to my wife, right? I mean, she's more like the networker, but but work. Oh yeah, I got work, right? So you see, it's easy for me to go with existing habits, I guess is the bottom line, rather than, as is rather obvious, than create new ones, right? That's not so easy to do. Because I look at it as, all right, so where on this wheel are you saying? So I'm looking at a wheel right now, right? One of the samples that Stuart gave us, which he probably got off of the search engine, but still, it's the concept is that you can have high scores in all of these different areas. I just think it's for things like, for example, fun and recreation. That's not something I give a lot of attention to. And so it's a deliberate effort for me to develop habits in that way. And in fact, you know what? Has anybody ever read Living Forward? It was co-authored by two guys. I got a copy on the shelf there. It's kind of a watered down version of 7 Habits in terms of the philosophical approach, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But this whole idea of living forward, they kind of broke it down into like having a life plan. And I've done this. In fact, this was offered to Shannon and I, and me, I guess would be proper grammar. It was offered to us at a leadership event with one of the companies that we do marketing with. And they thought this was very useful, right? So being deliberate about where you're at now. Okay, so let's look at where you're at now. Go ahead and throw up all over the page, whatever you got to do. Okay, and now let's look at, here's the ideal scene. Think of a couple of quotes that kind of go along with that to inspire you. Here's some inspirational quotes as it relates to this area of your life and the progress that you shall be making in that area. And then they had, different pages. So category 1, which is whatever you say it is, health. Okay, fine. So category 1 is health. Where are you at now? Where's the ideal, scenario where you're going to be, right? A couple of quotes that inspire you. And then what are the specific actions? Here's the part, guys. What are the specific actions that will move you in that direction? So now that we're looking and we're seeing, here's where we are, here's where we want to be. What are the specific actions that you could commit to? This is called a plan, right? So you're making plans. Okay, well, what are you planning to do specifically? And in the area of like recreation, which was one of the reluctantly I put as one of the pages in the booklet, right? I put, what, I should revisit it because I haven't visited. I should be reviewing this every week. That's what I should be doing, right? Review the life plan every week. And so, but there were things in there like, take up get back into Krav Maga, which I did when I lived in Phoenix, right? I joined the Krav Maga school, right? Since I've been here in Tampa, nothing, no recreation. My Harley is dusty. It's dusty. Okay. I wrote it once to the tax collector so I can buy a license plate, right? So like I gotta like deliberately put that on the calendar. Now, granted, I just moved. It's been 3 months. I'm still, I suppose, remodeling the garage it's, I don't know if it's recreation, but it's gratifying. It's therapeutic. I mean, you should see the before and after, like, holy crap. So does that count? I suppose I could slide it in there. Okay. Well, now that project's done, except the floor. The floor's a wreck. I want to do the epoxy, but what else? What else? Right? Go to the gun range. Once a month, right? Fine, right? We moved here, guys. I'm just spilling my guts for everybody. Okay, so this is real for me, what Adrian just talked about. This isn't just theory and some friggin' wheel that somebody drew. Okay, but like I was in the Clear Sky Cafe in is that what it's called? Clear Sky, I think so, in Clearwater Beach, right? And I walk into the restaurant and there's a flyer hanging on the doorway, and there's local events happening. And one of the local events is the trap and skeet shotgun fundraiser for the kids. I'm like, holy crap, shotguns. Yeah, baby. I didn't sign up, right? I hadn't even moved yet, but I'm thinking, wow, I'm gonna get into shotgunning here. I could use some practice with, hitting clay pigeons flying through the air, right? I mean, that's some good, sport, recreation. Haven't done it yet. Why? It's not on my friggin' calendar. That's why. If it's not written, it doesn't exist. Love you guys. Thank you for the reminders, Adrian, that I should actually plan on doing stuff besides the stuff that I habitually already do without even having to plan for it anymore. I'll yield the floor.
We're all in the same boat, John. We're all in the same boat. So, you've highlighted there that, priorities. We can't have priorities if we've got no objective, clearly, because we don't know what they are. I'm going to set out on a journey. Where are you going? I don't know. Paris, maybe London, maybe New York. Well, I can't plan anything. So to have a plan, I need to know where I'm going, and I can't prioritize either unless I know where I'm going. And it sounds so obvious, but we can just get lost for months and think, well, what was I doing? What did I spend the last 3 months on? I did that, and that, but nothing on my main goal.
Right.
So we don't know where we're going.
What's your plan?
Yeah,
you know what? When people
plan?
ask me that, so here's something that, yeah, we should get involved in this project. All right, great. What's your plan?
Yeah. And that is where it all starts. And that's what we're going to come on to in one of these sessions, knowing and finding our why and what we're doing ultimately. So important, because we can't get there without it. We just go around in circles. We'll end up going around in circles on the wheel of life, John, adjusting all the spokes and going round and round and round, but never actually wheel forward. It'll just start turning on itself. So yeah, I like that. Benjamin Franklin said, failing to plan is planning to fail. Same thing. If we just can't plan because we don't know where we're going, then we're going to fail, because we're never going to get anywhere. It'll just be random. Now, maybe random is fun, but it won't get you to your ultimate dream. Anyway, I'll shut up at that point. But I love all those points, John. I think they're all absolutely right. So I think Mandy had a hand up first.
Yeah, hi, Adrian.
Hi.
I'm constantly trying to learn from all of this. Definitely, Ali will back me up on that, because we're both in a semi-accountability group. I'm currently looking at a book called The Perfect Day Formula, which was recommended to me. This brings together, I think you need to have all the other bits that we're using and then bring it together with this book as well. So I've got Living Forward. I know that's in my Kindle or Audible as well. And we are definitely working with the 12-week plan. So you need the 12-week plan to give you all the goals, but then it's making sure that you do in a day what you should be doing in a day to make sure that you do the most important thing. And so I'm still using a tracker, which John suggested. But what this book does is it basically says, brings together everything you just said. So it's talking about the 3 C's: control your mornings, conquer the chaos of the afternoons, and concentrate on what matters in the evenings. And it was talking about reverse goal setting, which is what you said about reverse engineering, but it's taking it from the end of the day. So you put rules together for your day, starting from when you want to finish your day all the way back to the beginning. It definitely talks about getting up early in the mornings, like how I will do to talk about. This guy gets up at 4 a.m. and goes to bed at 8 p.m. That's never going to happen, because that's just, but maybe 6 and 10 or something like that. But if you get the book, it sort of structures it all the way through. And I've just finished going through the morning part of it. So it's talking about what you can do with that. And he also has a what not to do list. So what you mustn't do. So the rules are things like, I will get up for him 4 o'clock in the morning. I will not check internet for the whole day. And then he has triggers to stop him checking the internet for the whole day. So he builds all of that into it. So it's just a pretty good book to have a look at if you want something else to look at. It's called Perfect Day Formula: How to Own the Day and Control Your Life, I think. And it's only a couple of hours. But you might.
That sounds fantastic. Sounds wonderful. I'm definitely going to look at it.
Yeah, don't get the Audible. His voice will turn you mad, because he goes so fast and you're trying to write it all down. So buy the Kindle and get Audible.
Sounds brilliant, Mandy. Sounds great, because it's tying it all up. And yeah, it sounds highly relevant. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, yes, 4 till 8, bit of a challenge. I think I'm doing 5 till 10. I'm not doing too badly, but so I'm getting there. That extra hour could be a bit painful. But the other thing is, it's no good just being there. As John would say, you've got to turn up. So you've got to turn up between 4 and 8, 6 and 10, whatever it is. We can actually kid ourselves that we're doing a great job and just get nothing done. We can squander time, those pebbles in the jar, very easily. That's why you have to have this routine, so you know exactly what's going to happen at 10 o'clock before you get there. Otherwise, it's gone past like a bus going the other way on the opposite side of the highway. Boom, gone. What happened? Great, Mandy. I'll definitely look at that book. And thank you. Ali had a hand up. Ali, great to see you.
Hi. Hi, lovely to see you too. And thank you so much. I've got all my notes from what you were talking about. I was listening to someone the other day, actually, and they were saying about they were testing out the habit, but a habit becoming a habit and how long it took him. And it took him, it was about 98 days. And the thing that made him realize that it had become a habit was when he stopped patting his back about having done it that day. And it just became, just did it. Instead of thinking, yeah, I done it. I think that's quite a nice way of, realizing you've got it in your system and don't have to think about it. And it's not a great big deal. And I think what I've realised from you saying is that I've got my goal, my big goal, and I've got my daily goals, but actually have I fitted it all together within a plan and really mapped out that plan? And I think there are real gaps there. So that is just absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, because how important to have that blueprint. I've got the blueprint of the day I want, of the life I want. I've got all of that, but it's actually really doing the nitty-gritty pathway right from now till then. Yeah, so thank you so much. It's great.
Ali, that's great. This 98 days, very interesting. Some of the commentators take issue with Maxwell Maltz. He says minimum, though, to be fair, minimum 21 days. But some of the psychologists comment on the fact that some tasks are quite difficult to accomplish and take a lot more practice and training. So not everything is the same. And of course, we're all different. We might be particularly gifted at something that comes really automatically and not great at other things. So it's not one size fits all, but it is about repetition. There's no doubt about that. So thanks for raising that. And yeah, on the plan, it's the reverse engineering. You look at the sports stars, people like Federer that decided at a young age they were going to play tennis and become a top tennis player. Obviously, at that point, they knew, and it was pretty much formulaic, footwork, ground strokes. They knew exactly what they were going to have to practice every day to get them onto the summit. Joe Bonamassa, who's top American blues rock guitarist, I think he saw a video with his dad of Eric Clapton playing the Albert Hall and said, I'm going to play at the Albert Hall. I think he was about 8, 9. He was playing support to B.B. King at the age of 11, and then he did play the Albert Hall. But he clearly knew, right, I'm going to have to practice these scales, these riffs, these routines, these fingerings to get to the top. He must have had a plan. He wouldn't have accidentally got there to play at that level. So you're absolutely right. But what I find difficult sometimes, it's getting this grand plan and breaking it down into these minute pieces I'm going to have to practice. If I want to go to the space station, got to learn Russian, then I'm going to have to do that every day. Now, that may be a bit controversial at the moment, but, clearly, whatever we're doing, it's got to be then part of this day plan if it requires long-term commitment. It could take me 3-4 years to be good at a language because I can only fit it in on one of these great apps at so many minutes or hours a day. It's going to take months. I'm not going to do it just all of a sudden. So my routine is going to have to include a slot in my learning piece for study, not only reading, but now looking at a language. So, thanks, Ali. Those are great reminders. And, it's so important. We can end up just drifting in this vacuum otherwise between the plan and our daily actions. There's just a disconnect. It's like being in a vacuum with the oxygen pumped out. Things are just floating about. We're not going forward. Great. I love that. So any other thoughts on our first element of the success formula, which I've described as routine and habit? First element. We will go through Stuart. Hi, Stuart.
Hey, buddy. I want to thank you for reminding us that success leaves clues, and the Hansel and Gretel trail of breadcrumbs and all that good stuff, and that we've covered so much over the last couple of years in our personal development training and business mindset. And thank you for reminding us to go back and review all these principles and what you're calling the success formula. So I'm looking forward to this series that you're going to be presenting over the course of Tuesdays, and maybe you'll do a little bit on Friday as well. Habits and routines, John mentioned in the chat something about habit stacking, right? It brings us back to James Clear and Atomic Habits. And yeah, reminding me of all these things that we learned, the miracle morning. And I like the idea of, you know, how do we take a miracle morning and turn it into a miracle day? Thank you, Ali, for sharing, you know, how you're trying to put it all together. Thank you to Mandy for dropping things like, what was the book there? The Perfect Day, right? Adrian, you're reminding me of things like the 12-week year that we've covered, right? The Pomodoro, thanks for the Wheel of Life thing. And John, I appreciate, you know, your self-examination of, you know, where you feel like you are on that wheel. I think that doing a little self-reflection and seeing where we are in each of those aspects, right? And the concept of being a well-rounded person, right? And pun intended, right? In terms of that wheel. So I did like that. And whoever was Ali who threw the Ben Franklin thing in there. And I noticed that one of the things that he wrote in his daily schedule was put things in their proper place, right? And I think that's very symbolic. But when I think about habits and routines, right, there's sort of, to me, it's like a two-pronged kind of deal where you've got your physical habits and the things that you feel like you need to do, right? And that over the course of time, those physical habits become incorporated muscle memory and things like that. But I think the other half of that equation is the mental side, right? And we are the culmination of our actions and what we do, but also, as we all know, we are what we think, right? And sometimes it's easier to even change the physical aspect, but you know, let's not forget that the challenges that come along with changing the way we think about things, right? And I think that that's a crucial component in a total transformation, right? And so those mental habits and getting out of the old ways of thinking, right? And you know, if you think and do the same things, then that's how you got where you are. And until you change those things, you're not gonna level up. You're not gonna get to the next place. You talk about reverse engineering, and of course, immediately my brain goes to thinking from the end and working from the end and acting as if, right, the person that wanted to be the astronaut. Okay, well, what does an astronaut do, right? And it may not ever work out that way, but and for us, whether we're talking about what does a successful business person do? I remember, early on when we started on the e-commerce journey, many of us together, the question I kept asking myself as I was really trying to fit into, I'd never been a salesperson, a retail person. I've always been, a service-oriented person. And it was a little bit of a mental jujitsu for me to get into the mindset of, okay, well, what would a successful e-commerce person do? With all these things about, for example, intellectual property, or how do we take that next step in creating a business that maybe we're a little unsure of, but really getting past that, at least in the early phases for me, was, okay, well, this may be a little scary to take that step or to make that investment. But then the question always came to me, okay, well, what would a successful e-commerce person do? What would a successful business person do? You take that leap, you do it, you write the check, whatever it is, because you could stand there at the threshold wondering if that's the right thing to do, and then you're paralyzed, right? Analysis paralysis, or paralyzed with fear. I like that you kept bringing up the number 8, because of course there is significance and symbolism. What I found interesting, I did a quick little search on that, was in the church, the number 8 represents rebirth and resurrection. So here we go, Easter and springtime, right? So good on you for being synchronistic in your understanding of the number, right? But 8, of course, you flip it on its side, it's infinity, represents the constant flow of energy, material wealth, success in business and things like that. So good on you for bringing the number 8 into it. Of course, it's twice 4. You got 1 is, the individual, 2 is the pairing, right? 3 is the product, and then 4 is completeness. And then you got twice 8, twice 4, which is essentially stability, completeness, fulfillment, right? The wish fulfilled. So number 8 is powerful. John, you mentioned, it's all good to think about these things, but what are the specific actions? And I think a lot of this really does come back to the do part of be, do, have, right? And you can theorize, you can sit around and make lists and talk about this and plan out your week, your year, your business plan, whatever it is. But it really comes down to what are those specific actions that you can take to become that person that you want to be. So great session today. I appreciate everybody's input, and it really reminds me of we've learned so much, and how important it is to go back and revisit these concepts and see if we're really incorporating them into our lives, and if we're not, how do we rework our understanding of things and our approach of things so that we can make use of these powerful concepts and principles. So cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Stuart. Great sum up. And as John would say about the diary, if it's not in the diary, it doesn't happen. If it's not in the plan and the routine, it's not going to happen. So we've got to be honest with ourselves about that. We can dream, we can think, that, as you say, we've got to actually put actions into the plan, into the diary, translate them into real events, real things happening. So yes, Stuart, you'd be pleased to know we are going to talk about the mental side. Before I say that, you mentioned Franklin again, Benjamin Franklin. Isn't it fascinating that even all those years ago, a couple of hundred years ago, even then he had a day plan, very precise. We think this is all new. We think, oh yes, we're reading all these great modern books. This was Benjamin Franklin sitting there with a very precise hour by hour plan all those years, all those centuries ago. Fascinating to think, nothing new. It's, as they say in France, plus ça change. It's a famous phrase. The more it changes, the more it's the same. That's the gist of it. So yeah, the mental side we're going to talk about in forthcoming session, because I've mentioned at the start of the talk the 8 elements of success. And I think there are 8 that I've identified. You may have many more, so send them to me, note them down in the chat, let me know. But we talked today about routine and habit. Second thing we're going to talk about is passion and desire, which is, Stuart, what you said about our thinking. That's very much mindset and thinking. Then I wanted to talk about positivity and belief, which is also mindset. Taking action, where we might just hear the phrase imperfect and done. There is a danger of that. Adaptability and obstacles, how to actually tackle and overcome obstacles and be adaptable. Networking is the 6th one. Learning to give people what they actually want is the 7th element of success. Customer value proposition. What am I offering them? Is it actually what they want? Did I ever bother to check that? Or am I just shoving out the green wall hanging that I thought was a great idea when I looked at Helium-10? Have I actually checked that anyone wants to buy this and that they like it and that I couldn't change it a bit? There's something they don't like about it. And then upskilling and lifelong learning, another crucial element, reminding ourselves in these elements of success, in this formula, that if we don't keep changing our skills and updating them and getting new ones every month, we're going to be left behind when suddenly it's a brand new app they're all using to communicate. We don't know about it. We're not on it, and we're not getting any marketing contact. We're still on the old apps they were using 4 years ago, which are now totally obsolete. So that's one example. There are many, many things we've got to build into our study program, in our study time, in this routine, so we end up with the right bag full of skills. Going back to the astronaut example, which Stuart mentioned again, if I want to be an astronaut, what do they do? What does an entrepreneur do? How do we get out there as entrepreneurs? How do we sell? Crumbs. I'm going to have to know the following things, or at least have access to people that do. But even if we delegate, we've talked about delegation, we have to have enough knowledge to know that we're asking the right questions and to know what we're looking at. Otherwise, we're just completely adrift, just hoping somebody else knows what they're doing. So yeah, upskilling and lifelong learning, knowing what we're about, knowing what we need to know about. We don't need all the knowledge instantly there, but we need to know what it means and what to ask. So that's the 8th element. I'm going to cover these things in the next few sessions, really just to remind ourselves where we are, how we got here, and how I think, and you can tell me different, and I hope you will, how I think we're going to get to our goals with those 8 things, those 8 elements. So thanks for listening. I'm going to wrap it up. Don't forget, it's Corporate Curios tonight, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, US, which I think is 10 p.m. in the UK at the moment. 10 p.m. UK, it's Ivier with Corporate Curios, great cameo stories and descriptions of all sorts of issues about business, management, relationships, team management, etc., etc. So great to listen to, and Ivier is a great speaker, so I hope you can be there. Don't forget that, try and mark it in your diary. We'll wrap it up. I think we're going to have some fun sessions next week. I think John is away, and you're going to have some guest hosts, probably including me, taking over some of his sessions while he's away. So look forward to seeing you then. I'll be following up on bits of this also in life and business to try and tie together the mindset with the actual business skills that we need to get our products and services out there. Well, I enjoyed that. It was very interesting. Thanks so much for those tips, for those books. Mandy as well, particularly. I like the sound of this book. I have to go and download that. Hope everyone got something out of this. Let's hope you've got a wheel of life on your wall later today, showing you where the distortions and problems are. Then you can get out the toolkit and fix them and say, routine change needed. I can change it. I can change my exercise. I can change my study time, change my family and downtime. Whatever's wrong, I can change it. We're in control of this. We're the drivers. We're driving those wheels, so we can make this happen. Great to see everybody, and belated happy festive Easter to you all. Lovely to see you. Take care and bye for now. Goodbye. Take care. Bye.